everyone. As you guys all know, it's Fibroid Awareness Month, and I wanted to get a chance to kind of share with you guys my personal story and struggle with fibroids and the reason why I'm so passionate about this topic. I also wanted to let everyone know that for the month of July, a portion of the proceeds of I Must will be going to the Fibroid Association, which kind of is an association that deals with just the education as well as the research of fibroids. So I wanted to share my own personal story about fibroids. So this is a very, this is a moment. So I don't usually share super personal stories about myself on social media. However, I feel like it was the personal stories that were shared through other people's social media outlets that really helps me during a really difficult time where I struggled with this issue. So I was diagnosed with fibroids when I was 28. And just for those of you who don't know, a fibroid is like a non-cancerous tumor that exists on a woman's uterus or on her uterus. So pretty much, and just a disclaimer, I am not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, I'm just someone who went through this and wants to share. So I was diagnosed when I was 28, and basically at that moment the fibroids were very, very small, so they weren't really causing me any issues. So the doctor basically said that they'd watch and wait and see, you know, what goes on with them. So that's what we did. And so for the next like 3 years, that's exactly what we did. We just watched and we waited. And it wasn't until I turned 30, in the latter part of 30, the fibroids began to grow. They began to grow very large. So I had 3 very like substantial ones, and they grew kind of to the size of maybe 3 like mangoes. And so they were growing so large that they were actually protruding from my stomach. So when they were their largest, I had like a bulge that almost looked like it looked like a pregnant woman. And when you have fibroids, they'll compare the size of your fibroid to the size of a baby. And so the size of my fibroid was the size of a woman that was 7 months pregnant. And I tried my best to kind of wear loose clothing and clothing that would hide the bulge, and I couldn't really hide it for much longer. It was causing all types of issues. I was tired all the time. I was anemic, severely anemic. Literally, I would pass out and go to sleep at like 6 o'clock in the evening and wake up the next day and still be tired. I was extremely drained. I was very irritable. Like the littlest things could set me off. And a lot of people didn't know that at that moment in my life that I was dealing with a health struggle that like affects your hormones. It affects the way that you function. And not only that, but the general ridicule that I was experiencing because my body was changing so drastically. People just thought I was gaining a massive amount of weight. People thought I was pregnant. It was extremely embarrassing because of the fact that it didn't matter how much I worked out. It didn't matter how healthy I ate. Those fibroids, you know, they weren't going away. And in fact, they were getting bigger. I don't doubt that there are a lot of natural ways to remedy fibroids. And I don't doubt that type of nomenclature or anything like that. But for me, my fibroids had grown to such a large size that I had to get them taken out because they were pretty much affecting some of my other organs. So what ended up happening is around, I would say, July of 2019, I made the decision that I was going to get surgery. It was a hard decision to make because getting surgery, especially when you're, at the time I was like 32, I was like, I didn't think I was gonna have to get surgery this early in my life. And I was very scared because there are risks involved with getting surgery on your uterus and everything like that, and getting fibroids taken out. One of the big myths that I wanted to kind of bust is that just because you have to get surgery and get fibroids removed does not mean that you won't have babies anymore. Does not mean that, you know, your womb won't work anymore. In fact, sometimes it helps it to work better, because sometimes those fibroids could actually be stopping you from having children. So it's good to like know exactly where those fibroids are located, to talk to a doctor, to get, you know, to get their opinion on exactly what you want them to do, and to get multiple opinions. For me, the first doctor I went to was not the doctor who actually performed my surgery. I went to 3 different doctors to ask for their opinions. It was really important for me to be informed. I will say, as a Black woman, and because this affects mostly Black women, which is the reason why we're talking about it, especially within this month, and especially with everything going on, is that it's important for you to advocate for yourself and your own health. A lot of times doctors are not going to give you, sometimes they're not going to give you all of the information that you need. So sometimes it's good to get second opinions from different doctors, from different people, from specialists and things like that. Always get an opinion of a professional. And I always say, get opinions of several different professionals, because based on their experiences, they can let you know what works best for you. I also always tell people is be an informed patient. Like, it's really important that you don't go into your doctor's offices not actually knowing like anything about what's going on with you. There are resources and materials that you can use, that you can ask for, so that you know the correct questions to ask when you go into your different doctor's offices. I don't agree with self-diagnosing yourself, but I do agree with going in informed. So when I went into my different doctor's offices, I understood what fibroids were because I looked them up. I understood the different type of procedures that you could get because I looked them up. I understood the risk. And that way I was going in more informed, so I can ask the questions that I need to ask, like how long do people usually have to stay out of work after something like this? What does the scarring actually look like? Is this something that's going to stop me from being able to have children? Or is this going to, or what are the different types of procedures that I could use, and which ones work the best for me in my situation? Like, I was able to ask all those questions because I was better informed. And that's what I would give as my first piece of advice. And so what ended up happening to me is I decided to go with, I believe it's a laparotomy, I think. And I went with a doctor that I researched who actually has several awards. That's another thing. Get a doctor that's credible in the procedure that you're trying to get. So for the procedure I was trying to get, I got the most credible doctor that I could find within the Philadelphia area. She was amazing. When I say that, honestly, I don't know what I would have did if I went with any other doctor. That's why I'm saying, like, choosing your doctor is super important. You have to choose someone you trust. She did an amazing job. I had another thing I will tell you is that if you have fibroids, you probably have more than you think. I thought I had 3. I ended up having like way more than 3. I had like 17. So like, you probably have way more than you think. And because you probably have way more than you think, because things aren't always caught on those like x-rays and things like that, that is the reason why it's really important for you to get a doctor's opinion as to what you should do in regards to it. Not everyone has to get surgery, but that's the thing that I chose to do for myself. I will say that after I got this surgery, after they took them out, I stayed in the hospital for a day. It was painful afterward. I will say pain from 1 to 10. I have a very high pain tolerance, so I will say it was like a 7 in terms of pain. But a lot of people, if you have a low pain tolerance, maybe it'd be higher than that. But for me, it felt like it did feel like a cramping type of thing. And the scariest part is because there's like an incision that they make, you know, you're kind of scared that you're gonna bust. So you can't really laugh or anything like that. You can't really move like after the surgery too much. Like you kind of have to stay still. But luckily, you know, I had support from family members, from loved ones to help me through like that difficult time. I think the hardest thing or the scariest thing was actually walking, like getting up and walking right after the surgery. However, after I got through that, it wasn't as bad. I will say that after about 3 weeks, I felt better. And I got like the most invasive surgery that you can get, because I needed to get all of them out. And so like now, it's crazy because I wasn't able to like sit down and like not have a bulge. And now like me sitting down, there's no bulge. Like before there was like a huge bulge, and now there is not a significant bulge. So I will say after getting the surgery, it was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life. It was, I would not take it back. It improved my life like 1,000-fold. The quality of my life improved. And so that's why I'm really passionate about this topic, because I feel like inside of the Black female community, there's just not a lot of information about it. It's not right. It's not fair. And so I wanted to be able to give some tidbits from my personal journey. So throughout the month, I will be giving tips. I will be giving, you know, things that you should know, things that you should account for. If you're not going to get surgery, things that you could do to help. If you are going to get surgery, things that you could do to go into it better prepared. After surgery, what to do. Like I think it's important that people know those things and that they have access to those types of materials. So I have a blog. It is on www.iwillinspire.org. The link is in my bio. I really appreciate everyone listening to this. I know it's a long video, but at the end of the day, I just want to help. So happy Sunday and peace and blessings.